To become a star, but Shannon quickly slid into the dark world of pornography, and it may have killed her. Inside Edition is next.
She had talent as a child, but at 18 she was a porn superstar. Then this cheerleader from Dallas got on the fast track with some high-rolling friends.
The money started controlling her.
At 23, the girl who changed her name from Shannon to Savannah was miserable, bitter, and broke. Today, the tragic story of a pretty girl lost. They are America's treasures, our national parks. But many are falling apart because your tax dollars are being spent on pet projects like this one, and this one, and this one, and you're paying millions for them.
Why doesn't he want to talk about this? You'd think he'd be proud of it.
Today, America's parks in peril. Before he answered to Vincent Vega in Pulp Fiction, John Travolta was another Vinny.
Good.
And Vinny and his classmates from the 70s hit Welcome Back, Kotter are hot again, this time on cable.
Welcome back.
I think we have an opportunity to poison a whole new generation here.
But whatever happened to the Sweat Hogs after they all grew up?
Welcome to Inside Edition. I'm Deborah Norville. There are few things that Americans find more outrageous than government waste. Well, get this. While our national parks are falling apart, our tax money that's earmarked for those parks is being spent on things you won't believe. We'll have that story in a moment. But first, Shannon Wilsey was a beautiful young woman who lived in two worlds. To her mother in Texas, she was a generous and devoted daughter. But Shannon's life in Hollywood was a sordid world of X-rated movies. Cindy Hom reports.
She was a happy, bubbly, sweet, caring, giving little girl. She was perfect.
Shannon Wilsey spent most of her childhood in the countryside outside Dallas, Texas. By the time she was a cheerleader for the Pee Wee football team, it was obvious this little angel had acting talent.
She liked to dance, and she always said she was going to be an airline stewardess when she grew up.
Instead, Shannon Wilsey became Savannah, one of the biggest porn stars of our time, making nearly 80 movies in a period of just 5 years.
This business launched her on a rocket so fast that she couldn't catch up with her own fame.
But Shannon's fame became a tragic story of great unhappiness and self-destruction that ended last July when she took her own life at the young age of 23.
I think Shannon just couldn't take being Savannah anymore.
Shannon was a troubled teenager. At the age of 16, she went to live with her father, who was divorced from her mother.
She was not happy there. She wrote us letters, you know. She wanted to come back home. But somewhere in the process, she met a rock star and went on the road with him.
That rock star was Greg Ullman, 25 years her senior. When Pam spoke to her daughter a year later, she says Shannon was in deep trouble.
He had gotten her pregnant, and she had a miscarriage, and he just, like, walked out on her. She told me he's the one that started her on heroin, and that was her biggest battle.
A spokesman for Ullman said the rock star denies getting Shannon pregnant and starting her on heroin. In time, Shannon overcame her addiction. At just 18, she began her very grown-up career as a porn star.
She started out modeling, and she wanted to do that. And then her agent told her that she could make more money making the X-rated films.
Like a drink?
I don't know. Alcohol makes me kind of crazy.
Savannah's mom says her daughter would return to their home in Texas and shower them with gifts. But before long, things started to change.
The money started controlling her.
Savannah filled her empty life by dating more celebrities, including rock star Slash of Guns N' Roses and MTV host turned actor Pauly Shore. According to former adult actress Gina Fine, she tried to bury the troubles of Shannon by assuming the identity of Savannah.
Savannah became this larger-than-life diva who got so much attention and was so adored. You know, it took over, and she became a huge ego, you know, and it just swallowed Shannon up.
By the time Savannah took her life, she hadn't made a movie in months, was drinking heavily and using Valium. She owed thousands to the IRS.
She was getting ready to go to work again to take care of the money problems.
Then on July 11th of last year, Savannah got into a car accident.
She was driving her Corvette, white Corvette that she owned. And in the area that she lives, there's a lot of curbs. And I think she took one too fast and collided with a picket fence.
In a distraught, emotional state, Savannah called her manager, Nancy Pera. So distressed by her injuries, it seems Savannah couldn't endure her unhappiness anymore. Moments after making that call to her manager, Savannah walked into the garage of her home with a gun. Nancy rushed to the house only to discover that she was too late. Savannah had shot herself in the head. Nancy watched as Savannah was carried away.
And I grabbed her foot and I said, Shannon, and I didn't call her that often, but I wanted to go as deep as I could. I said, Shannon, stay with us. Please stay with us.
Within hours, 23-year-old Shannon was dead. The porn diva had died broke, miserable, and bitter. One of her unresolved problems was with her father, who had last tried to contact her 8 months before her death.
I found a letter when we were cleaning out all her stuff from her apartment or her house. And I read that letter, and it expressed a great deal of pain.
And while Savannah believed nobody really cared about Shannon, her family and friends now feel that they're the ones left with the emptiness in their lives.
You couldn't help but be crazy about her, and she had so many little things that she would do that would be so sweet, and she would bring me little presents, and she was very thoughtful.
Just this past July, Shannon's mother, Pam, filed a wrongful death suit against Greg Allman, the man her daughter went to live with in Hollywood. Allman has not returned our calls, and he has not responded to the lawsuit. Still to come on Inside Edition, another story of government waste, and the sweat hogs are back in prime time.
Come back. Your dreams were your ticket out.
I think we have an opportunity to poison a whole new generation here.
Epstein got a note.
It's no big deal. Epstein's always got a note.
Mr. Sampras, you know why you're here, don't you?
Kind of dumb.
We'll fix that. Let's see. Go up to the umpire. You say, you were wrong.
You were wrong.
Swat a few balls, throw a few rackets. The ball was in.
The ball was in.
I'm incompetent. Yell at me. Say tomato. Or two. And eat your pizza the wrong way. Crust first.
Why didn't you say so?
Stuffed crust pizza from Pizza Hut with a zesty new sauce and cheese baked into a new, thinner crust. You'll want to eat crust first.
Two at once.
I've created a monster.
Large, just $9.99.
Sunloan Company understands the need for extra cash. Whether it's car repairs, insurance payments, new clothes for the kids, or maybe even that well-deserved vacation, Sunloans wants to be your fast cash source. Sunloans specializes in fast, confidential service with loans up to $500. We'll take your application over the phone and have you approved in under 30 minutes. Save money by paying off your high-interest credit cards with affordable Sun Loans. Give yourself a break. Call or visit one of Sun Loan's 4 convenient locations today.
Every 20 seconds, another person plugs into the internet. Every day, more and more businesses are tapping into this vast global audience. To ensure that your business remains competitive, learn how the internet works and what it can offer you at the Internet Business Essentials Seminar at Palace Station. The date is August 23rd. Invest 2 hours of your time, and you'll leave with the knowledge, software, and access to put the internet to work for you. Safeguard the future of your business. Call 391-7073 today.
When a sick child needed medication one night, Frances Jacobs didn't hesitate to go out in a driving rain to deliver it. To poor people in Denver, she was the difference between having food and medicine or going without. She worked to unite the fundraising drives of several charities, but on that rainy night, she contracted pneumonia and died. But the difference she made lives on. Once called the Community Chest, today it's known as United Way.
pay taxes for America's great national parks and monuments, and we're entitled to use them. But some of the parks are in trouble. In fact, some of them are falling apart. So where's all that tax money going to keep them up? Matt Mahar's investigation will probably make you pretty angry.
America's greatest natural treasures are national parks. The Grand Canyon, Yosemite, Thurman, West Virginia. What? Thurman, West Virginia? That's right. When it's all done, $35 million of your tax dollars could be paying to resurrect this nearly deserted old railroad town. Not to mention the $150 million plus earmarked for a hodgepodge group of unremarkable industrial sites in southwest Pennsylvania. And just last month, Steamtown, probably the biggest sore spot in the national park system, opened in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Its third-rate collection of trains has already cost you $66 million. All this and more at your expense, swiped from the budget of our national parks by politicians who want to spend the money in their districts.
We're thinning the blood of our national parks. The quality is going down.
Former Park Service Director Jim Ridenauer, who wrote a book on the subject, never wanted any of these parks. He says for years, projects like these were shoved down his throat.
We were constantly getting a new thing added and not taking care of what we had.
So how do these places get their cushy federal status? On Capitol Hill, of course. Here's how. The president submits his budget for the Park Service, but ultimately it's up to Congress to decide which areas get the money. That's how certain members of Congress sneak funds to pet projects back home, like the $4.5 million that was slated for this movie theater in West Virginia, even though the Park Service never asked for it, and the $500,000 spent on this small town in Pennsylvania, and it's not even a national park. This is where your tax dollars are going. It's known as pork barrel politics.
If the Congress decides that an area is a national park and they strike the gavel, it's a national park.
So when pork barrel projects of questionable national significance receive millions of dollars for items most of us are likely to have limited interest in, what suffers? Well, what suffers are the true treasures of America, like Yosemite National Park in California.
There are areas in this park that should be closed down, probably.
Ranger Kevin Can says that's because Yosemite's budget has been slashed for the past 4 years. He showed us decaying buildings and a tour through giant sequoias on dangerously broken roads.
We lose parts of Yosemite by not doing our maintenance. We lose historic structures in Yosemite by not doing maintenance. We have to either tear them down or rebuild them.
Archivists at the Thomas Edison Historical Site in West Orange, New Jersey, are also trying to save parts of history. But only a third of the great inventor's preserved work is on display. And Superintendent Marian Grabakis worries that without proper funding, everything is at risk.
If a roof leaks, if it leaks onto artifacts, the effects just tumble downhill and worsen.
When we first aired this report last fall, the Park Service indicated that there were $2 billion worth of projects still awaiting funding. This year, the Edison site got lucky. It's getting a new roof, among other things, thanks to a much-needed $1 million appropriation. But the Park Service says it needs much more. And the tomb of Ulysses S. Grant in New York City, a park littered with graffiti and filth for years, is now slated to receive nearly $3 million from the Park Service budget. But not before his descendants in Illinois threatened to remove Grant's body if the site wasn't cleaned up. The little ghost town of Thurman, West Virginia hasn't waited in line for anything. That's because when Senator Robert Byrd, the former chairman of the powerful Appropriations Committee, wanted something, he got it. And some people on Capitol Hill think it's absurd. Congressman Joel Heffley.
Can you imagine this happening anywhere except in a state represented by Bob Byrd in the United States Senate?
He's the master of it.
He is the master. Far and away, the king of pork.
God bless Senator Byrd, what can I say?
Of course, the folks in West Virginia think Senator Byrd is just great. Like the residents of southwestern Pennsylvania think Congressman John Murtha is wonderful. He's already pumped $60 million worth of pork into something called the Heritage Area. There's Horseshoe Curve. Murtha finagled $7 million to build a luxurious visitor center, a Pennsylvania Railroad Museum, and a tram without a view.
And really, your view is better from down here when a train goes by than it is when you get up there.
And just a few miles down the road, another luxurious visitor center, another Pennsylvania Railroad Museum, and another $7.5 million price tag.
I don't see families sitting around in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and saying, you know where we want to go this summer for our vacation? The Portage National Monument. That's where we want to go. They're not going to do that.
There's the new $1.2 million Johnstown Flood Memorial. It's interesting, but it's only 10 miles from the old Flood Museum. The exhibits are almost identical, and now it's being refurbished with $3 million of national park money. In Salzburg, $500,000 is being used to help rehabilitate the town and dig up an old canal. The canal was about 40 feet wide, and it ran right through here. But it kind of makes you wonder, if it was so historically significant, why did they fill it in the first place?
There probably are parts that I would agree with, but I think they've gone beyond that with that project, in that it's become more of a local redevelopment, economic development project.
Congressman Murtha is trying to pump another $95 million into the Heritage Project. We tried to talk with the congressman for 2 months. First, his staffers wouldn't call us back. Then they dodged 2 scheduled meetings. So we stopped by his Washington office to try to get some answers.
Why doesn't he want to talk about this? You'd think he'd be proud of bringing all this pork back to the district.
Sir, he is very proud of America's industrial heritage.
He should be. He should be.
You've been in Johnstown and you've seen how good of a program that is.
There's some very nice things.
We're employing people. We're saving the history.
I want to get people outraged out there about the way their dollars are being spent, and if they put pressure on Congress, maybe we'll change the process. And let me tell you, there's no end to those porkers. They go on and on and on.
Well, there is new legislation being considered that would limit spending on these pet projects like Congressman Murtha's in Pennsylvania. We'll let you know what happens with it. Coming up next, we'll tell you what's been happening with the Welcome Back Cotter crew.
Tomorrow on Inside Edition, this worker reported a crime and wound up dead. Now cops say he was silenced for blowing a whistle.
Cash is always king, and the cash amounts to $900,000 during the Barbary Coast Gold Coast 18th Annual Pick the Pros Football Contest, with $30,000 in weekly prizes and a single $10,000 winner every week guaranteed. Season winners take home big cash prizes that pay and pay and pay. And how much do you pay to play? Only a one-time $25 entry fee. Buy 4 and get a 5th entry free at the Barbary Coast or the Gold Coast.
It's the Great American Blowout and American Bedroom and Waterbeds. This will blow your mind. Buy any bedroom set and save up to 40%. Plus, you get a queen mattress set or waveless mattress free. Hurry to American Bedroom and Waterbeds. These are the final days.
It's the annual summer sell-off at the Chainery. Now's the time to buy with 50% off all 14-karat gold rope chains and bracelets. Layaway and financing available. The Chainery, your link to quality and savings at the Boulevard, Meadows, and Fashion Show malls.
From the creator of Melrose Place, Central Park West. Is your TV fireproof?
Looking for something extra in your weather forecast? How about the latest technology that takes weather reporting to a whole new level, providing the latest look at weather in the valley or across the country? Or a local network of weather centers in local schools that provide accurate, up-to-date weather information 24 hours a day. With our neighborhood weather centers and advanced weather radar, Channel 8's Kevin Janison and Sherry Swensk have the technology and experience to bring you the weather news you need. Turn to Channel 8, people you can count on.
During the Civil War, a volunteer nurse loaded medical supplies in a wagon and headed toward the sound of cannon fire. Her name was Clara Barton. The Civil War would end, but her war didn't. There were still men missing in action and natural disasters that brought suffering to many. In 1881, she founded the American Red Cross. Today, nearly 1,200 Southern Nevada volunteers wear the Red Cross for you. I'm Gary Waddell.
Any baby boomer knows that the sweat hogs, those funny juvenile delinquents who were the stars of Welcome Back, Kotter 15 years ago, well, now they've returned to television, and the hogs are weird as ever. Nanette Barusha has our report.
Epstein gotta know.
No big deal. Epstein's always got to know.
For 4 years, they were the misfit teen idols of the 1970s. And now, welcome back Kotter.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out.
The Sweat Hogs are running the classroom once again in reruns on cable TV's Nick at Night.
I think we have an opportunity to poison a whole new generation here.
Kotter was a show that created the careers of its stars, and they love looking back, for the most part.
Look how big his nose is, and look how skinny he is, and the hair. God, the hair.
I said ho, ho, ho!
Ron Palillo was the class nerd, Arnold Horshack.
I'm sorry.
Robert Hedges was the wisecracking Jewish Puerto Rican, Juan Epstein.
My line was, Epstein was the guy who was voted most likely to take a life.
Gabe Kaplan was Gabe Kotter, the teacher of the Sweat Hogs. The show was based on his memories of his high school years, while John Travolta, as the delinquent dreamboat Vinnie Barbarino, became the sitcom's most visible star.
He was a cutie pie of the show, and he was a hot throb, but I was getting the babes, too.
Oh, yeah. We can't forget smooth-talking Boom Boom Washington, Lawrence Hilton Jacobs. Back in the 70s, he was as amazed as the rest of the young cast over the nation's sweat hog mania.
It was kind of freaky for all of us, you know, like, we didn't understand it. You know, why someone would want our autograph, you know, and why would they want to, like, you know, come to our house at 3 in the morning and, please, please let me in, you know, type stuff. It didn't make a lot of sense, you know.
Is this sure longer, Barbarino?
What? A lot of the show's appeal, of course, could be found in the twinkle of John Travolta's baby blue eyes.
Where? About 7, 8 weeks into the show is when that Travolta phenomenon happened. And the week before, I had told him, I don't know if you remember this, but I said, oh, you got some fan letters at the office. And he went running back to the office, and there were no fan letters.
There's no fan letters.
And then the next week, a whole big carton of...
he carried them in and dumped them on the stage.
They dumped them on the stage. There was so many. It just sort of happened like that.
Yeah.
Like, I guess they were looking for a new heartthrob, and all of a sudden it became him. And with me, old ladies would send in letters and pictures.
And underwear, this size. Big underwear.
Hey, Cavelli, your mother! Your mother!
As innocent as Welcome Back Kotter seems today, back in the 70s, the show actually had its share of controversy.
We did Up Your Nose with a Rubber Hose, and a couple of weeks, the censors said, well, you can't do rubber hose. You got to say garden hose, because this was 1976, and they thought that rubber hose was too suggestive for some reason.
They thought we were going to incite riots in the high schools. Boston wouldn't
people running around with rubber
hoses beating each other. That's that show.
We were banned in Boston the first 7 weeks the show, 7 or 8 weeks the show was on the air, because they thought it was too suggestive and that it would promote juvenile delinquency, and it was so calm and so mild.
Today, the only delinquency Kotter is likely to promote is from kids not doing their homework to watch the show. And the Sweat Hogs themselves have grown up all right, too. Gabe Kaplan has pretty much gotten out of show business and into the business of investments.
Stocks, bonds, real estate, commodities, currency.
And John Travolta, of course, has made a spectacular comeback playing Barbarino gone really bad in Pulp Fiction.
It could be up to 5 guys up there. Well, we should have shotguns.
Robert Hedges performs stand-up comedy, writes screenplays, and loves to play daddy to his 3-year-old son.
This is Mac, the next generation of sweat hogs. Michael! No!
Lawrence Hilton Jacobs grabbed the spotlight recently playing Michael Jackson's father in the TV movie The Jacksons: An American Dream, while Ron Palillo just finished shooting a TV pilot following a pretty lean period after Kotter went off the air.
I thought the show was going to be a stepping stone, and what it did was it put me in a box that it took almost an entire decade to start to get out of. But the 90s have been pretty wonderful.
And most of all, 15 years after Welcome Back Kotter, the Sweat Hogs are still the best of friends.
Well, we live together, so...
Yes, we do.
When people see us...
I rent a room from him.
He's 2 months behind on his rent.
Well,
so...
come on, I told you I'm going to be good. I'm good for it.
Now, if you're wondering, why does Horseshack look so good today? No, it's not that Ron Palillo's got a new hairdo. He told us he got a nose job. Inside Edition will be right back.
If you're considering getting pregnant, many experts recommend increasing your intake of folic acid, a vitamin found in orange juice, which means by drinking orange juice, you're not just doing something healthy for yourself. 100% pure Florida orange juice to your health.
Breyers has created a spectacular dessert called Viennetta. But this delicious premium ice cream with its crispy chocolatey layers could cause one small problem. Viennetta from Breyers. One slice is never enough.
My husband is a dentist, and I think he'll be very interested in this.
Now, for the first time, the baking soda and peroxide dentists recommend are yours in a mouthwash. New Mentadent Dual Action Mouthwash.
He believes that baking soda and peroxide are very important.
As they combine, Mentadent's Dual Action helps kill odor and break down plaque.
My mouth feels better, and my breath is fresh, and I like the way it tastes.
New Mentadent Dual Action Mouthwash. Take good care of your mouth.
I think I'll recommend it to my husband.
The country's most exciting consumer electronics retailer and the world's leader in entertainment software bring you WOW, the multimedia superstore. Our grand opening starts at noon Friday, and you'll save on home and car audio, TVs, VCRs, portables, and computers. We're also offering no payments and no finance charges for 6 months. And right now, with the purchase of any Apple computer, you'll get a free Reno Air ticket. You can also play the world's largest slot machine and enter to win a round trip for 2 to Germany. Only at WOW, the multimedia superstore.
Are you buried in credit card debts? Are you overwhelmed with medical bills? Hello, I'm attorney Frank Sorrentino. Under bankruptcy law, we can eliminate these debts and you can obtain a fresh start. I filed the most personal bankruptcy cases in Southern Nevada over the last 4 years. I've got the experience and qualifications to help you with your debt problems.
Call attorney Frank Sorrentino for help with your debt problems at 384-6824.
And here's what's coming up on the next Inside Edition.
This worker did the right thing.
I'd like to report an employee theft.
That's when he wound up dead. Now, years later,
you've got 6 to 8 people that committed the homicide.
Find out why cops say he was silenced for blowing the whistle. Plus, like mother, like daughter, as you'll see, for actress Drew Barrymore, outrageousness runs in the family.
And that lots more next time. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching Inside Edition. I'm Deborah Norville. We'll see you again.